Hi, this is Medi Ivy Harrison. I am doing this special mini class here on queries and agents for people who have questions that went beyond my brief discussion of them in my Business of Publishing class. I think I'm going to just go straight to it here. All right. This wasn't something that I talked about in the previous class, but I want to make sure you understand that you should not start querying agents until you have finished the manuscript. Do not start querying agents to see if they would be interested when you finish the manuscript in a year or two. That will annoy them. I promise you it will. And in addition to finishing the manuscript, I sincerely hope that you have edited it at least twice from the beginning to the end, ideally with a writing group or a workshop, so people who are not related to you. Now, you may have family members who will give you a good critique. Most of us have family members who will tell us, I love this, even if it's terrible or there are huge problems. So that's why I recommend taking it to a workshop. Also, a workshop or a writing group is a good way for you to get more than one opinion. So, all right, rules of agents. Again, I don't think this is something that I talked about before, but I want you to know this information. The key to all of publishing is that money flows to you, the author. If money is not flowing to you, the author, then you are not in a professional writing relationship. You are not a pro author, okay? Now, I mean, obviously in the beginning of your life as a beginning writer, you'll be going to conferences where you pay money to go to the conferences, and you may even pay money to like have a conversation with an agent who has flown out from New York, you know, for 30 minutes or 10 minutes or however long it is. Those are fine. But if you are trying to sell your manuscript and somebody asks you to give them money, that's a problem. So never send money to an agent as a condition of them reading your manuscript. The AAR, which is the National Organization of Reputable Agents, will not allow agents to ask for reading fees. So if someone is asking for a reading fee, they are not a member of the AAR. That means they are not considered a reputable agent. If an agent sends you to an editor who then asks for money, run away. They're just trying to bilk you. It's a scam. Agents usually get 15% these days, more on film deals, like 20%, or international deals. This is normal. So an agent tells you that they'll get 15% of whatever they sell your book for. That's normal. Do not run away from that, okay? But if they ask you to pay money up front before the money comes to you from the publisher, then that's a problem. You don't pay the money up front. You're not going to front money to the agent ever. The agent sells your book, then takes their 15% out of your check before it comes to you. Now that part can be problematic. If your agent dies, then hopefully they have somebody who's taking over the part where the money comes to the agent and then they have to pass the money on to you. Or if they leave the business, for instance, those become problematic areas. But the publisher pays your agent, then your agent pays you. That's how it works. All right, agents work for you, but that doesn't mean they're your employee. Sometimes I have people who, I hear people who say something like, well, your agent is your employee. No, they are not your employee. That is not the relationship. You are a client of your agent. That's not the same. You should be able to fire an agent fairly easily. Though if they've sent out a manuscript that later sells, they will probably get a cut on that even if you have a new agent. That's the way it works. These are just simple rules for agents. Agents should respond to your emails quickly, within a week or so. I mean, ideally, they would respond within a day. Agents should read your manuscripts within a few months, at most 6 months. If your agent is not doing those things, they are not doing their job, and you can fire them. Again, that doesn't mean that they're your employee. It means that you're severing your relationship with them. In general, your agent should spend more time on clients than on other tasks, self-promotion, etc. If you see your agent is spending a ton of time on doing things that you don't think they should do, I mean, it's not your business to judge your agent. Your agent can do whatever they want. But if they're doing stuff and they're not reading your manuscript, then you have a problem. However, agents can have a real life that interferes with their job. If someone dies in their family, if they get ill, if they have surgery, these are reasons that things may be postponed. Those are not reasons necessarily to fire your agent. How do I find a good agent? Google it. No, seriously, I'm going to do this for you right now. Let's see. All right, I'm going to stop this share. Hello, here we are again. Now I'm going to go to a different share. All right, here we go. I'm going to share my Google Chrome with you. Here we go. Now you can see all my funny little tabs. I'm going to write top agents in mystery. All right. And here's some information, 30 mystery and thriller agents now accepting submissions. Again, I'm just Googling it. It's not that complicated. Here they are. They have a list. You can see this, right? Carrie Pestrito. She's with the Laura Dale Literary Agency. I have not heard of Carrie Pestrito before. I have heard of the Laura Dale Literary Agency. And here's a little bit of information about her. She spent 6 years at Prospect Agency. So she's been in the business for a while. And here's what she says. I'm looking for thrillers, but looking for more high concept thrillers aimed at a female audience rather than police procedurals. So that's useful information for you. If you have a police procedural, probably don't submit it to her. Here's her agency website. Now I'm just gonna work with me here. I click on submissions. Here are submissions guidelines. All right, this is for the whole agency. It says Laura Dale is close to submissions. Elena Roth Parker, it gives you a little bit of information of what she likes. You can read Elena's manuscript wish list. That's what MSWL means. Here's a little photo of her. Here's the things that she wants, that she really is interested in right now, picture books. There's a 2020 update, all right? I'm gonna close that and go back to this one because we were looking at Carrie. So now we can read Carrie's wish list. Again, you'll see a picture of her. She's updated it from 2019. She says, I'm looking for fresh, diverse voices in fiction and nonfiction for adults and children. I have a fairly full list at the moment, especially in YA, and have to be very selective. So should you not submit to her if you don't have a diverse voice, which generally means a person of color or someone who has, I don't know, autism or something like that. She says, for young adult, I love narratives with a strong setting and vibrant characters in any genre. In contemporary, I love a strong voice and a great concept. Send me your YA version of Crazy Rich Asians. I'd love to find a great YA mystery or a historical YA in the vein of Mish Fisher's murder mysteries, okay? Again, you decide for yourself. I would probably query widely, even if you're not a diverse writer, just to see, maybe she will like it. All right, I'm gonna close that. Oh, no. And go back to top agents in, I'm going to do it this time in science fiction. All right. Again, I'm just trying to show you how easy this is. It's not hard to find information about the top agents. And how do they choose the top ones? Well, hopefully at the end of the article, they'll tell you maybe they chose them based on they like them the best or they like their books the best, or maybe they chose them because they made the most money, they sold the most books, whatever. This is taking a while to load. I often will look at like the top 3 or 4 categories here. All right, I'm going to go back because that one's not loading properly and see what else. 22 literary agents now accepting. And what I'll do is I'll get out a spreadsheet and I'll start typing in the name, and then I'll just capture links and put them into my spreadsheet so I know like what are their specific submission guidelines. Here's Jim McCarthy. I know Jim fairly well. He's at Distal and Goderich. So you click on that, it'll tell you his submission guidelines. This one tells you specifically, do send your query letter via email and include the full query in the body of the email, not as an attachment. Many agents do not like attachments. Do include a writing sample of the first 25 pages of your proposal, and you put it in the email below your query letter. Again, do not use an attachment with this particular agent. Proofread carefully. Do not send attachments. Don't send materials as a share file or download link. Don't query more than one project at a time. Query tips. You know, just a professional personalized greeting, why you're querying us, key stats for your project. your pitch, your bio and credentials. These are already the things that I've already told you are what you need to include in your query letter. All right, Michael Hoagland, Caitlin Johnson, Courtney Price. Again, it's complicated. It may feel overwhelming to you. That's why I suggest a spreadsheet, because this is going to be a lot of information. There are hundreds of agents in your field, and most of them are real professional agents. I mean, there are some scammers out there, but most agents are legit. And it's just going to be up to you which one is at the top of your list, depending on what they say about themselves, and you feel like, oh, that feels like we might be compatible, right? Most of the time, the best way to figure out who the right agent is for you to see what happens when they read your manuscript. If they totally love it, then that is probably going to be a good agent for you. Okay, now I'm going to stop sharing that one. Here I am again. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Now I'm going to go back and share my PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. All right, then the next step that you do, once an agent has expressed interest in signing you as a client, you talk to their other clients. If an agent won't give you their clients' names to contact, then run away. That means that they probably either don't have any clients and are trying to conceal that from you, or it means that they know that their clients won't tell you good things about them. Now, when I have done this process, I will ask other clients for the best thing they have to say about the agent and the worst thing they have to say about the agent. I want to know like what they think the flaws are. Like, seriously, they know what they think the flaws are in this agent. They can tell it to you nicely, but you need to know up front, is this somebody who takes a long time? Is this somebody who like makes you rewrite 1,000 times? Is it somebody who always thinks they're right? I mean, these are various problems I've had with agents that you can tell. All right, so you want to find out that information up front. If an agent promises you big bucks or film deal, run away. They can't promise you that. If an agent promises you can quit your day job, run away. Again, I just feel like these are people who are lying to you, and you don't want an agent who lies to you. This is what agents do. They submit your manuscript to editors, then they follow up. They know editors better than you do. That's because that's their job. They know the market, and they can give you good editing advice. Although not every agent is an editor. Some agents might give you general editing advice, but are not interested in writing you an editorial letter. That's like within the realm of normal for agents. Okay. How do I change agents? This is me telling you everyone changes agents. Literally everyone. I have not met a writer who has not changed agents. It means nothing about you as a writer if you change agents. Even several times if you change agents. All it means is that you are growing and progressing as a writer. Sometimes you get an agent who's really good for beginning writers and not great for mid-career. Sometimes you get an agent who loved your work at the beginning. An agent who doesn't love your work anymore is not an agent you can continue to work with effectively. If you really believe in a manuscript and the agent doesn't, I don't know how to mince words with this. Like, you are going to part ways with that agent. You can either do it the first year that it happens, or you can wait 10 years and never sell anything in those 10 years. I do not recommend that. If you've signed with an agent because of their expertise in one field, and then you work in another field, it's time to change agents. And this is me trying to like speak backwards in time to myself. I wish I had done some of these things that I'm giving you advice on right now. If an agent stops responding to you, it's time to change agents. This is me telling you from behind the scenes because I've talked to agents who are doing this to their clients, and many agents actually have a policy of not firing their clients directly. This is another reason why they are not your employee, because they can fire you just as much as you can fire them. So they just disappear so that they make you fire them eventually. But yeah, just send an email to your agent saying you're moving on. Like, thank you for your time. I've decided to move on to someone else. That's all. It's actually really quite simple. You don't have to wait for a response to this to begin querying other agents. Your agent might want to call you on the phone and chat with you and talk you out of it. You don't have to talk to them if you do not want to. It is a polite thing to do. If that happens, then you may want to practice a conversation where you're firm and you just do not try to argue them out of it. However, you should never query other agents until you fired your current one. That is considered very bad form. Okay, now the dreaded query letter. So just some things to talk about first. Remember, a query letter is a business correspondence. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be free of typos or grammar mistakes. That's why you need to get other eyes on it. You're selling your book, so you make it sound good, but don't lie about it. Don't make big promises or try to oversell it. Honestly, that just makes you sound unprofessional. And I really recommend do not compare it to big names like Harry Potter or Twilight. I don't tend to do comps, they're called comps, for my books. If you want to do comps, that's fine, but make it clear you know the market, so you compare it to slightly smaller books and newer ones, books that have been published in the past year or so. All right, I am going to walk you through 2 different query letters that I have actually sent out in the last year. So this is my first paragraph. Dear agent, I'm looking for a YA agent for No One's Missing, a 70,000-word murder mystery with autism-positive representation set in a fictional Princeton, New Jersey prep school named Quillian. I have packed a lot of information into that sentence, but this is the information that your agent wants to see in the very first line. Okay, they want to know the title of your book, how many words it is, what its category is, and then I have referenced just a few things: autism positive representation, and then it's set in a fictional New Jersey prep school. Do you see how I'm doing this? I'm not telling you about the main character. I'm just giving you sort of basic information about the story. All right, this is the middle section, which I call the hook and the synopsis. Wealthy student John and new charity student Reese aren't an obvious friend match. But when John's friend Doherty Pine goes missing, and then the FBI discovers that for 2 years, the young man John knew was a fraud, someone masquerading as the real Doherty. The FBI goes off to find the son of the pharmaceutical baron, the real Doherty, but no one is looking for John's friend. He doesn't even have a name. No one cares who he is or why he was masquerading as someone else. Hopefully it's clear at this point why I have called it No One's Missing. Reese is smart, but abrupt and socially clueless. She admits that she was diagnosed recently with high-functioning autism, but she thinks that it's the rest of the world that has a problem. Sticking close to John, she breaks into school files, dorm rooms, faculty housing, and wherever she needs to in order to get information about the case. In the end, she discovers the truth about John's missing friend by simply asking herself, who would be so desperate to get into Quillian that they'd be willing to take the risk of becoming someone else? In the end, the discovery of who the murderer is reveals far more than those in charge of Quillian want to be known about their school, and even more about John and Reese themselves. All right, you can see that it's very hooky. I give you a pretty good synopsis, like they find out who the murderer is, but it reveals information about the leadership of Quillian and about John and Reese. It's true, I do not tell you what that information is about John and Reese. I hold that back. I hope that this is a good hook. I think it explains fairly quickly who the main characters are, what the problem is, this missing character, why it is interesting and unique, because it's a murder mystery about someone who nobody knows the name of, somebody who's been masquerading as someone else and that no one is looking for except these kids. That's to me why it works as a YA mystery, because the police are involved in the mystery, but the kids are doing a different case. All right, this is the final paragraph of this, the ending. I've published numerous YA fantasy romances, including the Princess and the Hound series with Harper from 2006 to 2009. I was also diagnosed with autism in 2017 at the age of 46 and have been working since then on a handful of autism-positive YA novels, including this one. It has been a difficult experience confronting and trying to undo years of ableism and autism prejudice in myself, but I believe strongly in this project and the importance of seeing books like this, both for the widening group of autistic young women who are being diagnosed and society in general who needs to better understand neurodiversity. Thank you for your time. So here I explain my expertise in this particular subject. I don't have a PhD in autism. I'm not a psychiatrist, But I do have a specific reason that I'm writing this book and that I feel like I am an expert on this particular topic of autism. If you do not have a reason that you're an expert in it, you don't have to say this. You can just go directly from, I've published this, or if it's your first book, then you can say, this is my first published book. Thank you for your time. And that can be the last paragraph of your synopsis, of your query letter. All right, this is a separate query letter. The first paragraph is, Dear Agent, I'm querying about my memoir, You Can't Be Autistic, an 87,000 word collection of 20 essays about my experiences as an adult, teen, and child in a high-functioning, technologically brilliant family of 11 Mormon children. In 2017, at the age of 46, I was formally diagnosed with autism, and this has profoundly affected the way I understand my life. This new understanding constitutes the heart of You Can't Be Autistic. Now, you see here differently than the last one, because this is a nonfiction piece, I talk about my expertise up front, like why I'm coming to this, instead of leaving that into the end as I did in the previous one. All right, second section, the synopsis. These essays include Lying Liars and Other Social Expectations, How Not to Be an Asshole from a Recovering Asshole, How to Graduate from College in 18 months or Less, The Autistic Mother of the Bride, and more. I also address people's assumptions about autism, describe my own tendencies toward list-making and rigid black and white worldviews, and gently walk the reader through some of the most embarrassing social failures of my life. I also explain how my autistic rule following, quest for checklists, and disinterest in a social life enabled me to get a PhD in literature from Princeton at age 25, publish more than a dozen novels in different genres and age groups with prestigious national presses, including award-winning YA fantasy like The Princess and the Hound and the national best-selling adult mystery novel, The Bishop's Wife. My hyperfocus and need for quiet also helped me become an all-American triathlete and raise 5 successful children. I specifically talk about what masking is and why autistic women tend to mask more than men, leading to a spate of late diagnoses after we spend our childhoods being told that only boys have autism. Now, again, because this is nonfiction memoir-ish, I talk a lot more about myself in this synopsis section than you probably would in any other situation. But it's also tricky because it's a collection of essays. So each of the essays has a different topic, but they're supposed to lead to an overall picture of someone with autism who was diagnosed late in life. All right, conclusion. I think the memoir would appeal to families of those who've been diagnosed with autism, but also anyone who is interested in understanding neurodiversity as an important kind of diversity that enriches the human family. Throughout the book, I explain that my autism is not something that needs to be cured. It is a vital part of who I am, and discussions of a cure just trigger self-hatred. I believe that this book would be an important step forward in the understanding of autism. There have been other memoirs of autists, but almost all of them have been written by men. I want to encourage readers to reconsider the assumption that autists lack empathy and show an outsider's perspective on the rules of society. Neurotypical people take these for granted and assume they are innate or natural, but they are really learned behaviors policed and enforced by stringent social codes. Sometimes it feels like the very idea of human is neurotypical and that autists aren't considered human at all. I'd like to change this. So maybe this sounds preachy, but it is me explaining why I think this book is important. Now, if you're writing fiction, you're going to hit here with, like, this book is unique because I'm telling this fiction about a specific thing that other books in the genre have not been able to talk about yet. Maybe you have diverse characters. Maybe you're talking about a particular kind of magic that has only come up, recently. You want to talk about what makes your book unique at some point in your query letter. As I have said before, I am not into comparisons with other books. You saw me reference their other books, memoir by autists, mostly by men. I don't name them specifically. I do that on purpose. I don't want to slam anybody and say my book is better. I'm just trying to say I have a different angle. As I have said before, you'll be getting this PowerPoint. You'll be able to see these resources on query letters. And this is mostly on how to write the query letter. Let me just highlight here, Miss Snark is a great resource. I think that it was a blog that ran for 10 years. It stopped in 2007, but it has hundreds and hundreds of query letters and Miss Snark responding to people and explaining why this query letter works and why it doesn't. The same thing with Query Shark. Query Shark is a little bit more contemporary. I think it's still going today. In fact, it's done by my agent, Janet Reed. And she, again, explains I think she does still have people send her query letters, but she also explains to people just in general why this particular query isn't working. But she also talks about the business and your relationship with your agent, what things normal, what things are not normal, what you can expect, what you can't expect. Those are all super useful. And as I said, you'll be able to see those when you get this PowerPoint and follow those links. And if you have other questions, feel free to ask me, or as I said, go to those blogs.